the Pharaoh who fell to a beetle. In the land where the sun rose like gold over the Nile, there was once a pharaoh whose heart was darker than the shadow of the pyramids. He ruled with cruelty, crushed his people with taxes, and even betrayed his own blood. His name was spoken only with fear and hatred. This pharaoh believed he was not just a ruler, but a god walking among mortals. He humiliated his ministers, mocked the old and the weak, and punished anyone who dared to question him. In his court, even his own relatives lived in terror, for the pharaoh was as mischievous as he was merciless. He would throw grand feasts while his people starved, stage mock trials to humiliate nobles, and force servants to bow so low that their foreheads bled on the marble floor. One night, as the pharaoh slept in his golden bed, a small scarab beetle crept into the palace. It was no ordinary beetle in ancient Egypt. The scarab was a symbol of rebirth, but this one carried death. It crawled along the marble floor, up the silken sheets, and unnoticed, into the pharaoh's ear. At first, he stirred, scratching at his head, thinking it was a mosquito. But the beetle kept going, deeper. By morning, the pharaoh awoke with a scream. A maddening, scratching sound echoed in his skull. He ordered the royal physicians to cure him, but they found nothing they could remove. The beetle moved restlessly inside, and the pharaoh began to shout and curse. In a moment of desperation, one old servant timidly suggested, "My lord, in my village, we calm head pests by striking the head gently with a slipper." The pharaoh, enraged at the absurd idea, ordered the man whipped, until the beetle's scratching became unbearable. At last, the pharaoh gave in. A servant, trembling, struck him lightly with a wooden slipper. To everyone's shock, the scratching stopped, and so began the pharaoh's most humiliating days. Every few minutes, the beetle would stir, and the mighty ruler of Egypt would shout, "The slipper, bring the slipper." Servants would rush forward and smack their god-king on the head, again and again. In front of the entire court, word spread quickly beyond the palace walls. Markets buzzed with whispers, "Our pharaoh fears no army, but obeys a slipper." Children played games pretending to be the slipper bearers, laughing until tears streamed down their faces. Even his own relatives smirked when the blows landed. Days passed. The pharaoh grew weaker, unable to eat or sleep. The slipper blows no longer helped. The beetle had burrowed deeper, feasting on the very thoughts of the man who once called himself a god. He began to mutter nonsense, forgetting names, forgetting where he was. Finally, on the seventh day, the pharaoh collapsed on his throne. Then, the court fell silent as a small scarab beetle crawled out of his ear. Its shell, glistening red, paused for a moment, and then vanished into the shadows. Thus ended the reign of the most arrogant pharaoh, not by sword, not by rebellion, but by a beetle and a slipper. His monuments crumbled, his name was erased from records, but his story lived on. To this day, in that land, mothers scold their children by saying, "Behave, or the slipper will find you," like it found the pharaoh. And in the dusty corners of the palace ruins, some swear they can still hear the faint sound of scratching. Even the mightiest can be brought low by the smallest of creatures.